Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday morning to all. Happy Saturday divisional playoff day. It is Richie of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast, joined by my man, Mr. Idris Salam, North Carolina, a.k.a. Bosco from the Bronx.
Snowy North Carolina.
Snowy North Carolina. I heard it's kind of cold out there. You could have that, bro.
I don't want it, man. I don't want it, man.
Yeah, I don't take to the cold the way I used to myself, man. I mean, it gets below 50 in Florida, and I'm like, damn. I still refuse to put on the heat, though. That ain't gonna happen.
I wish we had 50, man.
Yeah, that's no
I'll take a 40. I'll take a 40.
On today's show, a lot of topics we're going to be hitting on. We're going to revisit final predictions for today's doubleheader in the NFL. I want to hit on the significance of a lot of quarterbacks that are playing this weekend and their growth as players, and also their growth in terms of roles for the NFL and why it is important for diversity. We have a 16-year-old, Mia Andreeva, who has advanced to the fourth round of the Australian Open.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And we got a very wealthy closer in the form of Josh Hader joining the hated Houston Astros.
Yeah.
And we got some second interviews for Mr. Belichick, Mr. Harbaugh. And apparently Mike Vrabel is also in the mix for the Atlanta Falcons. But we're going to start it up, in my opinion, for what is kind of sad. Sports Illustrated firing everyone. And, definitely a rough day for sports media, rough news for sports media. I mean, I can speak for myself, coming up as a kid, Sports Illustrated, in addition to probably enhance me as a reader, just really something that I always leaned on in terms of staying in the know with sports. Some of the most iconic covers ever. You're talking about 92 Dream Team, the Olympic kids knocking off the amazing Russian team on the ice. Eli to Tyree, which is actually autographed in my kitchen. I mean, so many iconic covers, going back to the Ali era in boxing, the Tyson era in boxing.
I got so many. I have a bunch of old Sports Illustrated. I thought about tossing them out at one time, except for the one with Eli, the Super Bowl. But now I'm like, nah, it's a good thing I'm going to keep them. Because I got Syracuse when Melo took him to the championship. I even got the 9/11 cover book, the magazine from it, Sports Illustrated. Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Dorney, a good friend of the show, actually shared that with me on a message through IG, and I did not know that they were in that kind of dire straits. I mean, I know that in this era, some of the best publications, they just aren't selling newspapers. You're not selling magazines the way you once upon a time did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason why this one hits a little different is because even like something like football season, the Sports Illustrated, it's almost like you waited to see what the writers, who they were going to predict.
Yeah.
If you placed your yearly order, you got yourself a little hoodie or a little sweatshirt for your favorite team.
Swimsuit edition. It's a lot of stuff, man.
No, undeniably, big part of just like pop culture, like on the come up for me personally. I would say my favorite cover of all time, undeniably, got to be the 92 Dream Team.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. That was just a cool cover. Mm-hmm. Really going in. Dude, Nancy Kerrigan, when she got attacked by Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have the 92 Dream Team book. I don't think I have the Nancy Kerrigan one. I wish I did, though.
I got to put my stepdad Eddie on full blast right here.
Yeah.
This is like 12-year-old Richie. Eddie had a dental thing. He had to get something pulled. So I knew we were going to be there for a minute.
Yeah.
Eddie comes in. I didn't want to be there. So I think he was trying to cheer me up. He took the cover, but he was like, why? Not making fun of the attack. That shit was not cool. Eddie's over here like coloring the teeth. I was like, man, you on one. Forever.
That's something a lot of people always did with covers. Always cover teeth.
Oksana Bayul beating her in the '94 final. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yamamuchi, that was her final go.
Yeah.
I used to watch a lot of the Olympic events back in the day.
Me too.
Yeah, I bet my grandma Nancy was hot and heated that Nancy Kerrigan lost to Oksana Bayul. I was like, I just let her get mad. I'm like, yo, did you watch what you watched?
Yeah.
Shout out Grandma Nancy, I miss you. Yeah. In your opinion, Idris, what led to this?
Just like people just not buying paper anymore, man. Newspapers and stuff like that. Everything's online, and I see what it says something about AI having something to do with it. And I'm like, it's just technology has advanced so much to where you don't even see any newspaper racks out here anymore.
I mean, technology's gotten to a point of flat out creepy, because when you think about Coachella with Tupac, for instance.
Yeah.
Or even like with a lot of the AIs, how they're duping like a lot of iconic voices of yesteryear who are no longer with us, like the Jim Morrisons, the Michael Jacksons.
Yeah.
Name your favorite rapper that may be passed on.
Yeah.
It's a little creepy, bro. I'm not gonna front.
It is, man. Cause see, my brother, he passed away in '96. Back in the '80s, when we were coming up, he used to say stuff like, man, in the future, it's great because he used to say stuff like this was going to happen. And we used to laugh. I'm like, okay, whatever, man. And it's creepy because, like you said, because so much is artificial, is getting to the point that you don't know what's real and what's fake.
I'll tell you one thing where I'm in favor of an AI. Get rid of Angel Hernandez in baseball and put a robot to call me some balls and strikes, because that dude is terrible.
You know what I would like AI to do, to be honest with you? Like, I'm a big boxing fan. I would like them to make it to where some like Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson.
See, something like that is cool. They kind of gave us like what that would look like in the Rocky Balboa movie.
Yeah.
When he fought Antonio Tarver in the movie, he went by the name Mason Dixon.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool the way they did that. But yes, and there was a computer-generated fight many, many moons ago, not to the same level, of course, with Marciano and Ali. And Ali took the L, and I'm sure just that alone ruffled a lot of feathers, because everybody has an opinion, and that's what makes it great.
They had two outcomes.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, it was two outcomes. One, Ali beat him, and one, Marciano beat him. It was two outcomes.
Let me ask you a question. Hypothetically, if we could just take guys and put them together at their prime peak, who wins that fight in your opinion?
Ali. And I'm saying Ali because one thing, Ali was bigger. Marciano, if he fought during Ali's days, he would be a light heavyweight. He was smaller. He had very short arms. He was slow. He had a big punch. But Marciano took a lot of punishment from guys who were not as agile and fast.
Not to mention, he caught Joe Louis at the tail end.
Yeah.
In a comedy-driven scene, The Many Faces of Eddie Murphy, as well as one of Arsenio Hall, kind of played it up in the barbershop scene. But truth be told, Joe Louis, I believe, may have given Marciano all he could handle had they met.
Even with that fight that he knocked Louis out, Louis was holding his own in it. That's the thing. And he was way past his prime.
And undeniably, I would say that what transcended and what transformed Joe Louis from just a great boxer to an American hero was the Max Schmeling fight.
Yeah.
That was next level. When you look at who was greeting Max Schmeling in his corner.
Yeah.
That different level, different meaning. And a lot of movies kind of bit off that in different ways.
Schmeling didn't approve of the Nazi thing. He was against it.
Yeah, he got looped. He got looped into that in a bad way.
Yeah, but he didn't approve it. He didn't approve it. And once Hitler passed away, he said, "Look, I wasn't down with that because him and Louis were buddies. They were friends." Yeah. He said, "I didn't approve with that stuff." It's. But see,
even back then, the media trying to man something. Yeah, because that's how you sell it. That is how you sell it.
Yeah, I think with AI and Sports Illustrated, it's sad because Sports Illustrated is like, it's like the authority, man. It's like you couldn't wait for that issue to come out, whether it be the cover or just covering sports every week. It was a weekly magazine. It's just like
it's sad.
Now,
like when I think about it, like you can look it up. Just look at all the different covers and different eras of all kinds of stuff that it covered. It's a big loss for the sports world, and I understand that the technological advances and how it's so easy to get news right away. That's why you get a lot of misinformation too, because everybody's like bang, bang, bang. Go on X, find out what even when you see guys that are getting signed or guys that are retiring, I always try to take a deeper breath. I mean, hell, look at the tragedy that happened with Kobe.
Yeah.
And all the misinformation that came out of that. You had Rick Fox, dead for a second. And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Horrible, man. Horrible. And sadly, while we're on the topic of death, the Golden State Warriors lost one of their assistant coaches. Happened quick, such a young guy. But the bright side of this story, Nikola Jokic honored his late friend with a performance for the ages in one of the most trying kind of scenarios when you're playing with a heavy heart against the mighty, and I do reiterate, mighty Boston Celtics, who finally lose a game at home. Just an inspirational kind of game. The Warriors had ended up postponing their previous game. Dejan Milojevic, I hope I pronunciated that correctly. It was a team dinner, and he suffered a heart attack. It just is like a reminder of how paper thin life could be.
Yeah.
So, I extend our condolences for Idris, as well as everybody here that contributes to our show, to the Golden State Warriors family.
Yeah.
But back to Jokic for a second. His coaches, his teammates, just so very proud of him, because it's when we have loss, not everybody has the ability to do what they necessarily want to do. Sometimes you just got to go about it. The beautiful thing about being an athlete is that you could express that love, that mourning, that on a deeper level for all to see. You look at what Brett Favre did in Oakland years ago.
He went crazy out there.
Yeah, he certainly did. Father's Day, some years removed from losing his father, Michael Jordan, wrapping it up against the Seattle Supersonics on Father's Day. Sports sometimes hold a special place for the emotional value of a lot of these kind of things. I remember when the Yankees wrapped up the World Series, Paul O'Neill had just lost his dad. Thurman Munson, a little bit before my time, his best friend on the team, Bobby Mercer, hitting a walk-off, and the beat goes on. But, we've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in a lot of places. But shout out to, in my opinion, the most versatile player in the league. The guy is all business. He makes those around him better. And what I appreciate about Jokic is that we come from an era where the big men led the way in the NBA.
Yep.
And this guy does it all.
Yeah.
And this could potentially be a finals preview, because I think last year the Celtics played a couple of games too many and kind of ran out of juice against, in my opinion, a Miami Heat team that was not better than them.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't even think the Miami Heat were better than the Knicks, but, you got to give it to Coach Spoelstra and what they accomplished. But ultimately, I think it would have been a better NBA Finals had they met last year. And this year could be the year you get it. I don't think there's much of an argument right now that the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA, but out in the West, there's so much to be decided, because you got a Clipper team that's on the rise. You got the Timberwolves. You got the defending world champion Nuggets. Dallas, who we spoke on the other night with Brett.
Yeah.
With the two-handed punch of Kyrie and Luka looking good. There's a lot of ways that the West could shake up. But in the East, I think it would take a bit of an upset to knock out Boston. Off the eye test, I would have to say the Miami Heat have a shot. They have defeated the Knicks 3 times, but that was prior to the Knicks trade. So I would like to see how we stand up to Boston now with the new roster, because I do like the way things are going for the Knicks right now as well.
Yeah, with getting back to Jokic, I like Jokic. I like him a lot. I think with his emotions, where he goes out there and play, where he's from, they're built like that. They know business is business. That's how they are. But I know they have that. They also had that camaraderie when it comes to people they lose. They're real emotional about it. But he was able to separate the two. Go out there. I'm gonna ball out for this, for my friend, and they're so close. And this is not to knock our culture, but I look at how they are in Serbia and stuff like that. Those guys are like, like this. They're like family, brothers. It's like we're gonna die together no matter what. I like Jokic, his game, because he plays inside and outside. And if you look at him on the court, it doesn't look like he's into the game.
Yeah,
into the game.
Very much so. Sometimes, who I would kind of compare him to in terms of his temperament? The big fundamental Tim Duncan, because if there was anything to critique amongst a lot of NBA fans with the Spurs dynasty, a lot of people are like, oh, they're boring.
Yeah.
Because they weren't as eccentric as the Bulls. Yeah. They weren't as violent as the Pistons. Right. They weren't as skilled as the Celtics, and they weren't as flashy as the Lakers.
Duncan looked like he wasn't doing anything either, but he was dominating. That's how Jokic looked like he's just out there like, man, I'm just ready to get a beer.
Yeah.
When you look at his stats, he look at his stats, wow. Like 35, 10, and 10, Like,
every night. And I think the thing that really impresses me about his game is the fact that in addition to being the team's best scorer most nights, he's also a hell of a facilitator that keeps his teammates involved in the offensive game plans, and also is a leader on the other side of the court on defense, where he makes sure that his guys are not allowing cheap points. And in a league that is softer, that is not an easy thing to uphold, but he does a hell of a job doing it.
I saw the other night when they played Philly, how it was a timeout, and it was on that end of the court, and he was like telling Murray, he said, "You stand here. You stand here." He was just telling them, right?
Yeah.
When they ran the play, everything was just the way he said. Boom, 3-pointer. I was like, that's a leader. And he was like, look, he put like, come here, you're gonna stand right here.
And I don't necessarily know if they're gonna march to the best record again, but the playoffs are another animal.
Yeah.
And I do believe that this team has the championship pedigree to repeat. But like I said, Boston, this is their first home loss. That's saying something.
Yeah.
In an era where that's not like what it once was, home court advantage. But the Celtics, it is a thing to go in there and beat them this year. I said it at the top, first night of the NBA when I saw them go against our Knicks.
Yeah.
The Kristaps Porzingis addition really completes them. And they don't have any excuses now. They have every piece in place. Now it's just about raising it. And let's see if they could win the first one, since they had the big three of Allen, Garnett, and Pierce.
Right.
Okay. We're off to baseball. Hader is an Astro, and Houston adds a huge piece to the pen. 5 years, $95 million. That's a lot of money for a closer. But I must say, him, Ryan Presley, they have so many options in that bullpen right now.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of writing them off just a little because, they lost their manager, Dusty Baker. He went back to San Fran. He's an advisor now. Love that pickup for them.
He'll be on the sidelines in a minute.
Oh, yeah, he'll be right. Yeah, Dusty loves that game. He's going to be involved. No, Dusty loves that game. But the Astros, as far as I'm concerned, this is a power move.
Yeah.
There's two big names still on the market, both pitchers, Jordan Montgomery as well as Blake Snell. And I'm just going to say what I think now. I believe that Snell goes to the Yankees, and I think that Montgomery, the former Yankee, re-ups with the Rangers.
I think so too. And I could see why Houston got Hader. Because Texas coming on. Look what they did. They came up, boom, And with the Yankees, how we got Soto, and we're shoring up out, and also, we're trying to get Snell. Houston got to step it up because it's going to be tough,
And I think just from the eye test alone and based on recent history in the National League, while the Diamondbacks did make the World Series, regular season wasn't too impressive. I still think it's the Phillies, the Braves, and you got to mention the Dodgers because of all the money they spent.
Yeah, I agree with those three. But you got to still play the game. Still got to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the Dodgers do what they do. I'm still not impressed. I mean, I'm impressed with the signings, but you got to get out there and play. And Ohtani, he's got a lot of stuff up here. The Braves are the Braves, man. They're balling out. They kind of slipped up last year, but
yeah, they can't beat the Phillies in the playoffs. That's what's
in the playoffs.
But in my opinion, regardless of that, I do believe that they are the best team in Major League Baseball. I think our Yankees are going to have a little bit of a say in the American League, but you got the Orioles, you got the Rangers, and you cannot sleep on the Tampa Bay Rays nor the Astros.
Yeah. Let's see what the Orioles do. I mean, they're young, and they balled out last season. But let's see how they do in the sophomore season after coming off a great regular season.
Yeah, because now you have some expectations attached to that success. And, Baltimore, from a talent standpoint, I believe they have what it takes to win the East. I am a Yankee fan. I'm going to be humble. I think the Yankees should be a strong wild card with the potential to make a World Series run. The Rangers, they did lose some pieces, but they still are very talented. And Bruce Bochy is just such a damn good manager.
Bochy can bring them up.
Yeah, because, I mean, in my opinion, them winning the World Series last year, they're like a year ahead of schedule, really, when you look at it. And they still have that, and that lineup is just so devastating.
That's the manager, man. I mean, I know you got to have the players, but that's Bochy, man. I mean, Bochy has that magic.
And while we're on the theme of closers too, I was thinking about Jacob deGrom's eventual return, and I do think there's a distinct possibility that the ideal situation for the Texas Rangers might be to make him maybe their 8th or 9th inning man. Because sometimes the way that analytically driven baseball goes now is that if you have the meat of the order coming up in the 8th, you might bring out your best closing option in a non-save situation, like essentially where, say if it's a tie game, deGrom mows down 3, and then you bring in somebody else.
Yeah.
But I do think that at this juncture of deGrom's career with the injury history, he could make the transition into a great bullpen piece, similar to what John Smoltz did after having a Hall of Fame worthy career as a starter, then to take it to the pen and have similar success. Not a lot of guys transition that well. I mean, you look at Mo, they tried to make him a starter.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be. And then ultimately he became the greatest closer of any and all time. So, a lot of times it's trial and error, no matter how much you think you know about the players on your roster. But,
I think with deGrom,
it's gonna be interesting.
I think with deGrom, he's going to get you 2 or 3 innings. And then you sit him down, you can make him a bridge. But I would be that 8th or 9th inning guy, bring him in there,
Yeah, because you got to look like we're the world champs, but where do we need some help? Yeah. And that is where they, like, for instance, many years, like last year, the Yankees starters had issues outside of Cole. The pen kept them in many games.
Yep.
We lost some pen arms. We're bringing some back now. Now the starters on paper are looking a little stronger. The addition of Stroman. You got to hope that Rodon has a good year too with us. I'm a little critical of how much they gave him, but we'll see. And now obviously Blake Snell, who wants to be a Yankee, that's going to be interesting.
Oh, that's going to be nice.
I hope we get him because we need him. And then you could put Nasty Nestor or Clark Schmidt in your long relief situations. We got Bill Belichick and Harbaugh getting second interviews with the Falcons. Mike Vrabel, a former player for Bill during the Patriot first part of the dynasty, also is in consideration. The recently fired coach of the Tennessee Titans. I still like Harbaugh for LA. I think he's exploring his options. Who do you like for this job, Idris? You think they're going to snag Belichick or his former player?
What, for Atlanta?
Yeah.
Not if Vrabel's in the mix, man.
It kind of changes it because I look at Vrabel as a younger coach who gives you more time with it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I don't see Belichick coaching more than 2 to 3 years.
Right.
3 at the max. To where Vrabel's still a young guy, he can give you 10 years.
And is he going to win a Super Bowl for the Atlanta Falcons? I certainly don't think so.
Right. No, I don't think he will. I think with Belichick, I think he'll be more like a builder,
I still think that Washington might come out at the end, get Belichick maybe. I don't know, because I really thought after the implosion with the Cowboys losing to the Packers, I thought for sure Jerry was just going to go out and get Bill. And the fact that they so calmly and quickly decided to keep Mike McCarthy, I'm not going to, like I told you on a couple of shows already, I'm not blaming the whole thing on Mike. Dan Quinn's another interesting scenario because now all of a sudden he's going to be exploring options. He might be leaving. So a lot to be decided yet. And I'll tell you what, if Bill doesn't like the fit, he may very well sit out this year.
Possibly. I think Bill wants Schuler's record. I think once he surpassed Schuler's record, I think he'll be like, okay.
And he also wants to win one without Brady because that is something that he wants to shut up a lot of media naysayers on too.
And with Brady, true, he didn't win without Brady, but people forget when Brady went to Tampa Bay, the team was ready to win.
I mean, dude, they won 7 games when Jameis threw for 5K, but also threw 30 picks.
Yeah, we went 30-30, yeah. They just needed a quarterback. So it's not like, Bill couldn't win without Brady. Neither one could. Bill is the one that got that man up there. Because Brady was a 6th-round draft choice. That's
the annoyance that I catch. And it's not like, I mean, naturally, I support Bill because he helped the Giants win 2 Super Bowls, 86 and 90. But my thing is like, this dude provided you with more top 10 or better defenses than any other quarterback ever. And the way that the media just pretends that that's not a thing and only wants to look at his record in 2000 with Bledsoe and his failed run with Cleveland, people call it a failed run. But guys, prior to Kevin Stefanski in 2020 going into Pittsburgh getting a road win, Bill Belichick was the last Cleveland coach to get a playoff win against the Patriots, coached by his teacher, Bill Parcells.
Exactly.
Against the same Drew Bledsoe.
And see, the only mistake I think Bill made was basically running Brady out.
Well, he tried to a couple of different times because, he wanted Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
When the Patriots kind of stayed above the water when Brady got suspended with the Deflategate, he ultimately took it to the Supreme Court and was vindicated.
Yeah.
I said it to Brett. I've said it to other Patriot fans. I believe that was Goodell's way of giving them a maximum punishment for something minor because he let them he let them slide on Spygate when he knows that it was a lot worse.
Yeah.
But he was a brand new commissioner, and I don't think he wanted to deal with all that.
Yeah, but I think with coaching wise, I think he'll go to Atlanta. I think Vrabel will go to Washington. That could flip-flop, but I'm pretty sure Harbaugh is going to the Chargers.
It makes too much sense to me.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean,
like
he got his quarterback there.
Like if the Bears would have imploded, they would have had a coaching vacancy, but they had a good second half.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, even if Nick Sirianni is on the way out, they're going to give him one last year because at the end of the day, he did have him in a Super Bowl just a year ago.
Yeah.
Washington is going through a lot of changes, and that's the reason why I think Washington, for the big picture, might be Belichick's best place to go. Yeah, I don't think it's Tennessee.
So.
I still think Dan Quinn in Seattle makes an awful lot of sense. We'll have to see how that shakes out.
I still think they'll go after him. Seattle will. I still think they will because they know him up there and everything. And I think at this point that might be the only team that'll really take him after what happened. In Dallas last week. So, but say Tennessee still needs a coach,
Yeah, there's a lot that's going to come, and it's going to be like a little bit of a halt, and you're probably going to get the finalities of the news post-Super Bowl or maybe during the lazy week, during media week. That's when you're going to start seeing, for the most part, where everybody's going to end up going. These are my picks, just revisiting them. In case you didn't catch the previous show for today's games, I've got the Baltimore Ravens by 17 over the visiting Texans, and I've got the San Francisco 49ers by 10 over the visiting Green Bay Packers. I am rooting for both road teams, especially the Green Bay Packers, because of my late father, but I'll be honest, both of these 1 seeds this particular round, I think, are just a little too mighty. But the Packers have a better chance of these 2 teams of pulling the upset, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going with you too, but I'm still in the air with Green Bay. I just have a feeling. Got a feeling they might. They're just looking like
there's something about them.
They remind me of that Giants team that was on the road, and
I mean, shit, they remind me of the former Packers team.
Yeah,
the McCarthy Packers that did it all on the road
20 years ago. Yeah,
a long time ago, man. Yeah,
so I'm going with what you have, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, Green Bay might win this.
I hope they do. Because if they win, I said it to Brett on the last show.
Mm-hmm.
If Green Bay somehow leaves Santa Clara with a win, they are better, in my opinion, than either team that's playing in Detroit tomorrow.
I agree.
And that's what makes this so interesting. I will say this would be America's nightmare. I do not want to see the Super Bowl between the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions because let's go back about 2.5 months ago and see what that final looked like.
We saw that already.
That will be reminiscent of some of those Super Bowls that we used to get in the 90s when the NFC was on the 13 in a row, where they would just make mincemeat out of anybody that the AFC offered. I mean, the 49ers one year beat Denver. I think it was like 51-3.
55-10.
Something ridiculous.
And Chicago beat them.
Oh, my. Yeah, Chicago squashed the Patriots. And then you had the Giants, who had a huge second half against Elway's. Yeah, everybody beat the Broncos in the 80s. Everybody beat them. My father, rest his soul, always suspected that something was fishy about when Denver beat Green Bay. He was like, hey, why did Elway know exactly where the podium was? Man, that thing was fixed, man. Terrell Davis, best running back in the world, has a migraine. Yeah,
it comes back in.
Where's the flags on Reggie? They've been holding them for like the last hour. I was like, all right, Dad, pipe down. You guys won last year. Calm down.
Yeah, I think I would like to see Detroit get there for the city, but they don't have enough for Baltimore.
No, the fact. Listen, I'm not trying to be an ass. They won by 1 point, guys.
Yeah,
against, in my opinion, a better Ram team. They won the game. That's all that matters. But if there is one legitimate, like, quiet road team that could go in there and win, and that's another nightmare, in my opinion, is if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win. Because the reality is that Detroit is not untouchable. They do have a leaky secondary.
They do.
And Tampa's defense still has some holdovers from that Super Bowl. They have quietly, and when I say quietly, I mean sometimes unimpressively.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the 9-0 win against the Carolina Panthers, the lackluster performance against the New Orleans Saints, where they lost, and everybody was like, damn, Tampa won this division. New Orleans is better.
Right.
But, that's the way it goes sometimes. I mean, shoot. Let's revisit 2011. I talked to this about with Zappy. Sometimes it depends on who you play.
Yeah.
I love the Giants. But if the Giants would have ran into the Saints instead of the 49ers that year, we ain't going to no Super Bowl.
No.
Not in the Superdome, not that year, not against that team. You saw what they did to us earlier that year.
Yeah, we'd have got run.
Yeah, I hate to say it. Sometimes it takes the right set of circumstances to get where you're going.
Yeah.
And while we're on the theme of getting where you're going, I want to hit on this. I think it's important. The significance of 3 African-American quarterbacks starting in the divisional round of the playoffs. This kind of coincides with, I think, a little more positivity in terms of even head coaches, because as you've seen in the past week or so, Gerard Mayo named the new coach for New England at the suggestion of Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick looking out for one of his former players, a guy that he believes in. And former Giant Antonio Pierce. The cool thing about him and Mayo, they played the same position. They were captains of their respective defenses when they played.
Yep.
Both excellent players. I believe, in my humble opinion, that Mayo should have been a Hall of Famer if he would have just played a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, I'm happy. First of all, starting with the Raiders, and then we'll get to the quarterbacks. They did not want to make the same mistake in previous history of allowing a great interim situation go to the wayside. They screwed up with Bisaccia. They didn't want to do it twice.
Yeah.
So kudos to the Raiders for not allowing history to negatively happen. Mayo was a little surprising because of the fact that the Patriots didn't really exercise a lot of interview options, which tells me that they already knew that they wanted this guy. And I think Belichick, it's pretty stand up on his part too, to make sure that his guy, that was Belichick's guy, got this opportunity. And I hope they both succeed. I think it's important to have diversity because it's been a big argument that the Rooney Rule has kind of been tainted in the sense where it's just like a check mark. Oh, we got to interview this guy. We ain't really hired him. Check, check, check. If the Brian Flores situation, no matter what side of the fence you are about it, it is troubling when you think about it in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy because sports is supposed to unite us all. And this is not Republican. This is not Democrat. This is none of that. Sports, I would say sports and music should unite us.
Get us away from that crap.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter what color you are, how much money you make, what's your gender. It's supposed to unite us. I'm glad to see these coaches getting their chances. I'm glad.
I just want to see. I want to see more diversity for the sheer fact that when you have a fan base and you have a league that's comprised predominantly African American, particularly on the playing side, it's only right to see coaches that look like you. I think it's fair. Yeah. These are guys that played in the league. These are guys that have put in years and years of hard work. And getting on the quarterback side of thing, I'm going to mention like two names right now that are on the top of my brain. Warren Moon, Doug Williams. Why do these names matter? The reason why Doug Williams matters, he's the first black quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. And this was a guy that was kind of like a journeyman, told maybe he wasn't good enough. Now you look at a guy like a Warren Moon, that's egregious. NFL Hall of Famer, rightfully so. But when I think about what the numbers could have been, if the NFL would have took him where he should have won initially, he had to take the long road, go to the CFL.
Won 5 cups up there too.
Indeed. And, an older version of him, still a very good one, played with the Houston Oilers, had some epic battles with some other great quarterbacks of his era in the form of Jim Kelly, in the form of Dan Marino. But the point to be made is I think this is good because at the end of the day, this is everyone's game and it's all about inclusion. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have CJ Stroud, you have Jordan Love. Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, literally the story of last weekend's wild card games. I mean, these kids were sensational. And before we go to our final topic, I think ultimately what I'm getting at is that the evolution of the black quarterback in the NFL is huge because I believe that in the past, a lot of black quarterbacks got pigeonholed to just being like, oh, they're just glorified running backs. They're superior athletes. But they're not reading defenses. And quite frankly, I think that while certain players kind of made that narrative look like what it was, I think it was unfair that they tried to pin it and speak for all black quarterbacks. So when I see that you got guys right now that are going to be the faces of the league here moving forward, and then you got a guy like Lamar Jackson, who all of us at different times questioned his pocket presence, him stepping up, league MVP again, probably. It's good to see.
Terry Bradshaw made a point because when he became the starter, he was saying how Joe Gilliam was the better quarterback, and everyone felt.
I heard him say that.
Joe Gilliam was the better quarterback, but they sat him in favor of a Bradshaw. And Bradshaw always says he was the better quarterback back then. He admitted it.
Takes a big man to say that.
Yeah, he admitted it because I remember Joe Gilliam playing because I was like, wow, come on. My uncle was like the one that got me into football. Was like they got a black quarterback, and I was like. That was the first time I seen one in the NFL. I was young. I might have been, 9 years old, 8 years old. I'm like, wow. And I liked him because after that, I wanted to become a quarterback until I seen Walter Payton. I was like, no, I want to be running back.
Yeah, Walter Payton.
But and when they sat him, my uncle I remember him saying why they sat him. But, at 9, 8 years old, I didn't understand. But when I got older, I said, oh. And then I heard Bradshaw say what he said. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah.
No, it takes a big man
I like
to
Bradshaw.
say that because when you're rocking 4 rings, you don't necessarily have to be that honest nor be that humble. And that's something that I always did appreciate about Terry. And then when you revisit like those Steeler teams, they were a tight-knit bunch.
Yeah, they were family.
Yeah, they really were. And, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. You know, that's the way it's supposed to be. Before we get out of here, got to give a shout out to this young lady. Mira Andreeva, at only 16 years old, advances to the 4th round of the Australian Open, defeats Diane. This is insane, dude.
Yeah.
And in the previous week, she defeated her idol.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, what was I doing when I was 16 years old? Not this.
No. I was boxing, but that's a whole different thing right there. that all you can say is watch out.
Yeah, because when you think about the progression of women's tennis, and you know the Williams sisters had a huge hand in that. You know, some other names that come to mind: Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf. You know, these are Billie Jean King. You know, like, but the Williams sisters took it to a different level.
You know, people don't realize how tough a sport tennis is. I tried to play, dude.
I remember the girl from Long Island, Jennifer Capriati.
Jennifer Capriati, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved her too.
But the cool thing about tennis is that an individual sports is like, I mean, granted they play doubles too, but it's like you got that one-on-one thing. So the same way that in the NFL you pitch a great rivalry like a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, or in boxing a Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali, you get the same thing in tennis. And I just look forward to seeing the ascension of this young woman. I think it's really great for the sport. Someone this young succeeding. I think it's very inspirational, and it's just really cool. And I'm going to make a transition segue into this even with wrestling. What I find very interesting is that in today's WWE, this is something that they always kind of ignored, the women's division. But when you look at over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, that they trust these women now to even main event their events, like at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, it's truly remarkable. And, you know, the Performance Center in Orlando, OVW, also like some of the breeding grounds for great wrestling, but they gave them the ball and they have run with it. Because I'll be honest with you, when I look at athleticism and the basics and just like the aerial tact and just the great wrestling, I think women's wrestling has really.
Some women are tough.
Yes, they are
tough because you figure they get in there with the men sometime. The men are like, bam.
Well, you want to take it back to like the 90s and the 2000s, you know, China.
Yeah.
Who I actually saw at MSG during the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the first one to win a title that was only held by men.
Yeah.
And, you know, then
I love China.
Yeah, rest in peace. Then, you know, it takes a step back and now, you know, the Divas era turned into what they got now.
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair, second generation. Everybody thought in the Flair family it was going to be his son. May he rest in peace. Yeah. Ultimately, it was the daughter, Charlotte. They call her the queen. And I mean, hell, man, you even got Ronda Rousey making the transition into the women's wrestling.
Ain't nobody better than my girl, Trish Stratus.
Oh yeah, she was legit. Lita was
my
legit.
Girl, man.
Yeah, but you know, shout out to the women in WWE. You know, friend of the show, Jason Cade.
Yeah.
You know, he works for WWE. He got some screen time during the pandemic. Not really in the ring anymore, more behind the scenes. And he has spoken some truth to me on how hard they work.
I got a perfecting their craft on the show. My man, he go by the name Shad Van Dam. He doesn't wrestle, but he's one of the guys who's in the crowd.
Yeah.
That basically stirs stuff up and they bring him out. Yeah, he works with the wrestlers because he worked at ICP, Insane Clean. I got a video where they gave me a shout out with him. I'm gonna send it to you to check it out. He's the type of guy that whenever they come to town, he's the guy that they hire to be like, you need to start some shit with them. And they might grab him out the crowd and bam, or he might, yeah. I'm gonna see if I get him on the show with him. He's like my son, man.
That's dope. Last thing, Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, and she had backing of one of her co-workers.
Yeah.
claimed that the Green Bay Packers were incredibly disrespectful to them when they were scoring, making first downs, basically doing anything dominant on offense, which it was an offensive-driven, dominant Packer victory. Now, it's these kind of stories, you got to wait till they kind of get more out. But what are your thoughts? Because it's not common that you just randomly hear a cheerleader bringing this up. So I do tend to believe there's probably some merit to this.
I'm not going to lie. It wouldn't surprise me because it is not trashing the Green Bay fans. I mean, the Green Bay players, but they went to Dallas and they put the beating on.
They were pretty hype.
And I know with me, I know we're against the clock. I know with me, I might have been out there doing some outlandish shit.
You know what it is? I'll be honest with you. I think it was a bad combination of timing with just like making a ton of plays, just really feeling themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to say this, and, it's not always the easiest line to walk, but it's like you can't disrespect women just because you're feeling yourself.
You can't do it.
But, there's always that happy medium, a weird line to walk because, it's a testosterone-driven league, this NFL. Yeah. And, there's a lot of emotions. But the woman flat out said, she's like, I will literally root for anyone but them. And she said, we're minding our business. And, to each their own. Like I said, I know Jair Alexander was feeling real good.
Oh, yeah.
He picked up that.
He chirps a lot, too, so it was surprising.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying it was him. I know Aaron Jones had 24 family members, and Aaron Jones was one of the real good guys in the league.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's like, impressions are impressions. And sometimes if that's the impression you make, that's the impression that you're going to get, and it is what it is. But, I did want to mention that to bring attention to it nonetheless. Having said that, I hope the Packers win today.
Me too.
Yeah, sorry, Shed, but
sorry, Carol, my sis.
Yeah, your team got 5 Super Bowls. I mean, then again, Green Bay got 4, but I want to. I don't know, man. It's like I don't want to see a Lion San Francisco game or a Bucs San Francisco game because I just know that it's like a sure thing. At least if the Packers play one of these teams, it's gonna be entertaining.
No disrespect to Lions fans, but
no, I mean they've already accomplished a lot this year.
Yeah.
But, God, I don't want to see that title game next week. Lions and 49ers? Bro, that's going to be over in the second quarter.
Yeah.
For Idris, I am Richie. Thank you so much for watching. Please make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. And we will be back in the near future. Announcements to come with regard to our next show. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go Pack, go. And good luck, Houston Texans. Good luck to Miko Ryans. Pull off that upset.
Yes, sir.
Nah, man. The Ravens are the only team that beat us in the Super Bowl. I love you, Lamar, but I don't like your organization. Sorry, Roman Kelly.
Coco will love to hear that.
We out.